Here are the top stories for today, February 10, 2021. President Rodrigo Duterte is expecting a good result by the end of the year as COVID-19 vaccines arrive. The Philippine National Police intensifies its crackdown against fakers of COVID-19 test results. A group is calling for the resignation of Kabataan Party List Representative Sara Elago. And two 10-year-old kids are registered as the country's youngest mothers. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte is expecting good results by the end of the year with the arrival of COVID-19 vaccines. The first batch of vaccine deliveries will arrive this month through an arrangement between the government and the World Health Organization-led COVAX facility. The vaccines were manufactured by U.S. drug maker Pfizer and British company AstraZeneca.
We are waiting for the vaccines to arrive and to immediately implement the required mandate, and that is to mabakunahan lahat. And we will do it as fast as the vaccines will come in. We will survive, and by the end of the year, mukhang medyo na tayong hindi na pinakamaganda, but magandang resulta sa pagod natin.
Meanwhile, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said the Philippines is already gaining momentum in the fight against COVID-19. Duque is pertaining to the improvement of the country in its global ranking on COVID-19 response.
Nung dumaan ng November, December, at napalakas po natin yung atin na pandemic response with the help of the local government units, and also commending the discipline and the compliance of our citizens with our minimum public health standards. Kaya bumaba na po ang ranking natin, as a number 32 na po tayo. Tapos sa active cases naman po, number 44 tayo. We only have, as of today, 27,992. Malaysia, which is even a smaller country than us with a lot less population, with a smaller population, ang active case nila 51,241. Indonesia 176,291. So ibig sabihin po nito, talagang gumaganda yung atin pandemic response, Mr. President.
In response to President Duterte's appeal to the communist group not to intercept the smooth delivery of COVID-19 vaccines in the provinces, the Communist Party of the Philippines suggests why not let Red Cross and other humanitarian groups transport the vaccines alone minus the military. Malacanang shrugged off the idea as it maintains that the Armed Forces of the Philippines is in charge of vaccine delivery in far-flung areas.
Una-una, we have a rollout plan. Yun po ang masusunod kahit anong sabihin pa ng CPP-NPA. Number two, I guess they have freedom of expression, but they are tagged as a terrorist group. So parang they can express their opinion, but hanggang dun lang po yan. Ang ating rollout plan po ay binuo po yan sa tulong po ng mga pangunahing eksperto, and it will remain.
The Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, warned the public against counterfeit COVID-19 vaccines as these jabs could only be assessed through the government. While there are no reported fake COVID-19 vaccines in the country yet, Domingo said the FDA is coordinating with the Philippine National Police, the Bureau of Customs, and the National Bureau of Investigation to prevent the entry of counterfeit vaccines.
Well, bawal po yan, at wag po kayong bibili dahil wala pong produkto, wala pa pong bakuna sa buong mundo na merong marketing authorization. Ibig sabihin na fully developed na maaari nang ibenta sa publiko. Na ang bakuna po ay maaari lamang ma-access to the government vaccination program. Kung sakali man na ang gobyerno ay mag-designate ng mga LGU o kaya mga private company to be part of the vaccination program, kasusunod din po yon sa alituntunin ng Department of Health. At siyempre po, pinangako naman talaga ni Pangulo na libre ang bakuna at hindi po babayaran itong mga ito.
The Philippine National Police intensifies its crackdown against those who are producing fake RT-PCR test results and medical certificates. This came as 6 Metro Manila residents were earlier barred from entering Boracay Island after presenting fake RT-PCR test certifications and later tested positive for COVID-19. PNP spokesperson Brigadier General Idelbrandi Usana said they will comply with the directive of the Department of the Interior and local government to strictly enforce the law. Under Republic Act 11332, those who are caught tampering the records relating to notifiable diseases or health events of public health concern would face fines ranging from 20,000 pesos to 50,000 pesos and up to 6 months imprisonment. Health and law enforcement officials in Cebu held a simulation exercise for the upcoming rollout of COVID-19 vaccination program. The drill simulates the transfer of the vaccine vials from the cold box to a smaller styro box. The team accomplished exercises within the 30-minute allotted travel time of the vaccines from the Mactan Cebu International Airport to the cold storage facilities at the Vicente Soto Memorial Medical Center. At least 20,000 COVID-19 vaccine doses of the 100,000 doses allocated for Cebu are expected to arrive tomorrow. Another simulation will be held tomorrow for the actual inoculation by vaccinators at the BSMMC. Around 56,000 medical frontliners and hospital staff will be the first in line to get vaccinated once the COVID-19 vaccines arrive. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar said there were already 4 proposed referral hospitals in Metro Manila for the first tranche of inoculation. These are the Philippine General Hospital, Lung Center of the Philippines, East Avenue Medical Center, and Dr. Jose Natalio Rodriguez Memorial Medical Center or TALA Hospital. Andanar, who is in Butuan City for the town hall meeting, said the government will still prioritize health workers, senior citizens, and uniformed personnel for the vaccination. Butuan City is the first leg of the series of information drives across the region this week. Other target venues for the activity are Prosperidad, Agusan del Sur, Lanusa, Surigao del Sur, and Sison, Surigao del Norte. Andanar vowed that the PCOO and its attached agencies will continue to intensify its efforts on information dissemination. Malacanang said the proposed Bayanihan to Arise as One Act or Bayanihan 3 can only be passed if the country still has available funds. The proposed measure is an extension of the now expired Bayanihan to Heal as One Act or Bayanihan 1 and Bayanihan to Recover as One Act or Bayanihan 2. House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco and Marikina Representative Estela Luz Kimbo filed the Bayanihan 3, which provides for a 420 billion peso stimulus package to help the government meet its recovery targets. The funds allocated for Bayanihan 2 will be available until June 30.
Sa ngayon po, naipasa po ang ating 2021 budget. Nakapaloob po dyan ang trillions in terms of fiscal stimulus. No? At na-extend po natin ang Bayanihan 2. Like Secretary Galvez, I'm also thankful for the initiative of Speaker Velasco in filing a bill for Bayanihan 3. Pero sa totoo lang po, ang passage of bills, at nanggaling po tayo dyan sa Kongreso, is also dependent on availability of funds. So titignan po natin, una-una kung talagang kung kinakailangan pa yan, at pangalawa, kung meron po tayong possible fund sources.
Still to come, a group is calling for the resignation of Kabataan Party List Representative Sara Elago. And live hogs, pork meat, and its byproducts are strictly banned in Negros Oriental. More on this when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Sa matinding laban natin sa Coronavirus Disease 2019, sugpuin din natin ang pagkalat ng fake news. Huwag magbahagi ng impormasyon na hindi tiyak ang pinagmulan. I-check mabuti ang source ng balita. Kumuha lamang ng impormasyon mula sa mga official channel ng Department of Health. Huwag magpadala sa maling balita. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to. Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. Associate Justice Marvic Leonen says the government has duty to pass a law that would prevent terrorist acts in the country. Meanwhile, several anti-communist organizations also expressed their support to the anti-terror law. The details from Marita Moahe.
The Supreme Court maintains the government is mandated to protect the people from the threat of terrorism. During the oral arguments on the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, Associate Justice Marvic Leonen enumerated a number of terrorist attacks, mostly in Mindanao, starting with the February 2004 bombing of the Super Ferry 14 en route to Cagayan de Oro City from Manila. He also cited the August 24, 2020 twin blast in Holosolu, as well as the January 27, 2019 bombing of the Holo Cathedral. Leonen said we should give our law enforcers the tools to be able to detect and monitor, not only to detect and prosecute, but to disturb the actual incident. He said a good anti-terror law is not meant to discriminate based on faith, but to protect the people. Meanwhile, the League of Parents of the Philippines, or LPP, said the anti-terror law is the only weapon of those who are silently going against the senseless ideologies of the CPP-NPA. LPP Chair Remy Rosadio said the anti-terror law is their only hope of providing security to their children against illegal recruitment, deceptions, and brainwashing activities of the CPP-NPA. Members of LPP and Liga Independencia Pilipinas, alongside parents of student activists who were reportedly recruited by various militant groups, gathered in front of the Supreme Court on Tuesday to voice out their support for the Anti-Terrorism Act of 2020, or the anti-terror law. They also rallied against unscrupulous exploitation and abuses by NPA rebels of vulnerable sectors such as indigenous peoples. The group also urged the Supreme Court and high-ranking government officials to act on the revocation of asylum status of CPP founding chair Jose Maria Sison in the Netherlands. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Moahe.
In Western Visayas, the Regional Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict called on Kabataan Party List Representative Sara Elago to protect the youth from communist terrorist groups or resign from her post. The details from Benj Mondo.
The Regional Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or RTF-LCAC, in Western Visayas has strong words for Kabataan Party List Representative Sara Elago. If she finds it difficult to fight for the rights of a trafficked child who was forced to join the communist movement as a child warrior, it seems that the party list she is representing is not sincere in upholding the rights of the Filipino youth. The Regional Task Force earlier discussed with officials of the Aklan State University the schemes reportedly employed by rebel groups in recruiting the youth, including students from different state universities across the country. The meeting also sought to enlighten the university on the recent list of schools that have been targeted by the Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army National Democratic Front, for radicalization and recruitment. Elago, in a Facebook post, said she will include the said incident in their gathered cases of red tagging in schools adding that this should be investigated. Regional Task Force Chief Flosemer Chris Gonzalez, meanwhile, slammed Elago's move to subject the state university to a congressional investigation. Gonzalez said Elago should be the first in condemning the atrocities committed by the CPP-NPA, especially on issues regarding supposed recruitment of children as child warders. Aklan State University President Emily Arangote thanked the RTF-LCAC for the enlightenment so they could protect the institution from the deceptive recruitment schemes of communist terrorist groups. She also assured that they will never tolerate any groups that may eventually ruin the lives of their students. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Bench Bondo.
The Western Visayas Regional Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict will continue to hold dialogues with willing schools, particularly those who confirm recruitment activities by communist terror groups. Associate Provincial Prosecutor Flosemer Chris Gonzalez said the task force has already joined separate dialogues initiated by the Aklan State University, Philippine Christian University, and Central Philippine University. These three schools were among those mentioned by the NTF-LCAC as the target of NPA recruitment and radicalization. Gonzalez said they vowed to undertake measures to prevent infiltration by the CPP-NPA to conduct recruitment in their schools. There were also initiatory talks with the Iloilo Science and Technology University, Capi State University, and the University of Antique. The Department of Justice, or DOJ, will prioritize the move to oblige internet service providers and tourism establishments to help prevent online sexual abuse of children from happening in their premises. DOJ Undersecretary Emeline Aglipay Villar said the present action of the ISPs regarding this matter is hampered by technological issues. Under the Anti-Child Pornography Act of 2009, ISPs are obliged to notify authorities within 7 days that any form of child pornography is being committed using its server or facility. An ISP shall furnish the particulars of users who gained or attempted to gain access to an internet address that contains any form of child pornography. They shall use available technology to ensure that access to or transmittal of any form of child pornography will be blocked or filtered. The provincial government of Negros Oriental has included Leyte, Southern Leyte, and Biliran in its ban on live hogs, pork meat, and its byproducts following the reported outbreak of the African swine fever in these provinces. Dr. Alfonso Tundag, quarantine officer of the Bureau of Animal Industry, said they are also asking trucks and other vehicles returning to Negros Oriental to undergo massive disinfection. Governor Roel de Gamos signed an executive order in late January prohibiting the entry of live pigs, boar semen, frozen and processed pork, and pork-related products from these provinces to keep Negros Oriental ASF-free. Last month, they intercepted and confiscated 40 kilos of chorizo from a passenger who arrived here from Cebu. A previous ban on pork and its byproducts from Luzon and Mindanao to Negros Oriental is still in effect. At least 5 luxury vehicles worth 30 million pesos that were smuggled into Cebu were destroyed on Tuesday at the Cebu International Port Yard. The Bureau of Customs, Port of Cebu, said the activity was part of the simultaneous destruction of 13 vehicles nationwide, led by the Central Office, done in time for its 119th founding anniversary. The 5 vehicles were sneaked into the Cebu port on separate dates in 2019. The consignees failed to show import documents as well as proof of payment of correct duties and taxes. The BOC hopes to send a message to smugglers to refrain from their illicit activities. The BOC also aims to modernize its processes to increase the agency's capacity to help boost the economy's recovery this year. Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III said continued modernization of BOC processes allowed the agency to meet the challenges brought about by the pandemic and enabled it to exceed its 2020 collection goal by 6%. Dominguez said the pandemic negatively impacted the BOC's revenue generation. He, however, said the agency stepped up to the plate and minimized losses by continuing its modernization initiatives to achieve a more efficient customs administration. Last year, BOC fully automated its frontline transactions and modernized its risk management processes despite the challenges of the virus-induced pandemic. Up next, 2 10-year-old kids are registered as the country's youngest mothers, and the health department is promoting Safe Love Drive against HIV. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The Philippine Statistics Authority has revealed 2 registered live births from the girls as young as 10 years of age from the National Capital Region and Calabarzon. Commission on Population and Development NCR Director Lidio Espanyol Jr. said the case of a 10-year-old getting pregnant has sounded the alarm for all government units to improve initiatives on adolescent reproductive health. Espanyol also expressed concern over the case of the pregnant 10-year-old who carries extra health risks to both herself and the baby. Popcom NCR has partnered with the Zwilig Family Foundation for the reduction of teenage pregnancy through the Challenge Initiative project. Popcom would also look into the social protection program for teenage mothers and their children to be jointly implemented with the Department of Social Welfare and Development. The Department of Health Central Luzon Center for Health Development is encouraging the public to promote and support the Safe Love campaign. In time for the celebration of Valentine's Day, the month-long campaign advocates the use of condoms and testing against HIV and sexually transmitted infections. The campaign also aims to normalize and lessen the stigma that comes along condom use and HIV testing in the community. Cesar Casion, Regional Director of DOH Central Luzon, likewise encouraged the community to intensify efforts on prevention, testing, intensification, treatment, initiation, adherence, and health education. Casion said HIV advocacy is one critical public health program that needs to be continued even amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The Department of Education has ordered the recall of learning materials that contain content that were offensive to Igorots. More on this and other news from the provinces from Leyte Cabagani.
The Department of Education or DepEd has recalled the distribution of a locally developed learning material that wrongly depicted Igorots. The department said that the material's draft was still undergoing quality assurance procedures but was mistakenly reproduced in good faith by some school personnel. The DepEd reiterated that it does not tolerate discrimination because it mandates to protect and promote quality, equitable, culture-based, and complete basic education. Last week, a Mountain Province Representative Maximo Dalog Jr. wrote to Education Secretary Leonor Briones about the offensive portrayal of Igorots in books and modules used by learners in Nueva Vizcaya. Meanwhile, the local government units of Tarangan, Samar, and Carigara, Leyte are encouraging residents to collect solid waste in exchange for food items. Tarangan Mayor Arnel Tan said the residents are entitled to 2 kilograms of rice and several canned goods for every kilo of shredded plastic waste put inside a 1.5 liter of a plastic bottle. In Carigara Town, the local government announced that participants of their project barter will get rice and canned goods. A kilogram of garbage can be exchanged with a kilogram of rice and a can of sardines. In Davao City, several barangay leaders launched a grassroots campaign urging Mayor Sara Duterte to run for president in 2022 elections. Dubbed Run Sara Para sa Bayan 2022, the group says it will organize a national movement to generate support for the presidential daughter. The campaign is similar to the 2016 grassroots movement that sought to draft President Rodrigo Duterte to run for the country's highest office. A citywide caravan will be held on February 14 to gather support among the Baweños for the Run Sara Para sa Bayan 2022 campaign. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Laid Kabagani.
In our foreign news, the Pfizer-BioNTech coronavirus vaccine has been proven effective against the South African and the United Kingdom variants of the virus. The two companies cited a study published in Natural Medicine which said the vaccine creates antibodies that neutralize mutated versions of the virus. However, the engineered viruses do not include the full set of spike mutations found in the UK or South African variants. The study was published after a separate study revealed Sunday that the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is less effective against the South African variant. In sports, a businessman has vowed to provide COVID-19 vaccines for the national athletes as they return to action in a major manner this year. Philippine Olympic Committee President Abraham Tolentino confirmed that business tycoon Enrique Razon Jr. will shoulder the inoculation of the Philippine team to the Tokyo Olympics. Razon, the owner of International Container Terminal Services Incorporated or ITCSI and Bloomberry Resorts, earlier said he will bring in 20 million doses of Moderna vaccines. On the other hand, the incumbent Cavite congressman is optimistic that the Tokyo Olympics will finally push through after a year of deferment due to the pandemic. He also said that he is bullish about the Philippine athletes' chance about finally claiming the elusive Olympic gold. At the moment, pole vaulter Ernest John E.J. Obiena, gymnast Kaloy Yulo, and boxers Yumir Marshall and Irish Magno have booked slots in the Tokyo Olympics. The Japanese fortress in the neighboring municipalities of Sibalom and San Remigio in Antique is being eyed as a heritage site. The provincial board unanimously supported a resolution requesting the Provincial Tourism Office to study the area as a potential heritage site. Antique Vice Governor Edgar Denosta said parts of Barangay Bongbongan 1 in Sibalom and Barangay Carmelo 1 of San Remigio used to be where the Japanese colonizers had their copper mining activity. He added that there are concrete infrastructures which are remnants of World War II that are still intact. With a declaration of the area as a heritage site, he said it could also become one of the tourist destinations to be visited by people interested in history. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. President Rodrigo Duterte is expecting a good result by the end of the year as COVID-19 vaccines arrive. The Philippine National Police intensifies its crackdown against fakers of COVID-19 test results. A group is calling for the resignation of Kabataan Party List Representative Sara Elago. And 2 10-year-old kids are registered as the country's youngest mothers. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day to all.